The concept of the state in ancient Indian polity was highly developed, rooted in philosophical, religious and practical considerations. Ancient Indian political thought, as seen in texts like the Arthashastra, Manusmriti, Mahabharata and Shanti Parva, offers a comprehensive understanding of the nature, origin, functions and scope of the state. The state was regarded as an essential institution for maintaining order, justice and prosperity in society. Ancient India recognized several theories regarding the origin of the state. The divine origin theory, the most popular theory, especially in the Vedic and epic periods, posited that kingship was divinely sanctioned. The king was not merely a representative of God, but was often considered to possess divine qualities himself, as seen in the Mahabharata and Manusmriti. The story of Manu being appointed king by Brahma during chaos, known as Matsya Nyaya, exemplifies this view. However, this theory was not universally accepted. Buddhists and Jainas denied the king's divinity, and some court poets criticized the doctrine as sycophancy. The social contract theory, as described in ancient texts like the Digha Nikaya and Aitareya Brahmana, describes the state as arising from a social contract to prevent chaos. People chose a ruler known as Mahasamata to enforce laws and ensure collective welfare. The organic theory, as mentioned in the Atharva Veda, and later scholars described the state as evolving organically from the family and clan, with Sabha and Samiti assemblies marking the beginning of organized political life. The state was seen as an organism with each part, king, ministers, territory, and so on, interdependent. The Saptanga theory, elaborated in both the Dharmashastras and Kautilya's Arthashastra, outlines the seven-limbed structure of the state. These essential elements include the king, ministers, territory, fort, treasury, army, and ally. The nature of the ancient Indian state was characterized by several key features. Ethical foundation. The guiding principle was dharma, or moral law. The king was expected to uphold dharma, ensuring justice and order. The state was not merely a power structure, but a moral institution, balance of power. While the king held significant authority, his powers were limited by dharma and the advice of ministers. If a king failed in his duties, the people had the right to abandon him, as per Bhishma's teachings in the Mahabharata. Welfare orientation. The state aimed to promote the welfare of its people, supporting the economically weaker sections, building infrastructure and patronizing education, religion and the arts. Diversity of governance. Ancient India saw monarchies like the Mauryan and Gupta, republics such as Vaishali, and tribal systems from the Vedic period with varying degrees of centralization and participatory governance. The scope of the ancient Indian state was comprehensive. The king was the central authority, supported by councils known as the Sabha, Samiti, and Mantri Parishad. The Mauryan Empire, for instance, had a highly centralized bureaucracy, while the Gupta Empire allowed more regional autonomy. The king was the supreme judge, assisted by council of scholars. Laws were based on Dharmashastras and Arthashastra, blending religious and pragmatic justice. Punishments, or danda, were prescribed to maintain order. The state regulated trade, collected taxes such as land revenue and trade tariffs, and managed resources including irrigation, mines, and forests. Economic prosperity was seen as essential for social order. Maintaining a strong army and forts was a primary responsibility. The state protected against internal and external threats using both military and diplomatic means such as alliances and spies. Social welfare included the construction of roads, trade routes and irrigation systems, along with support for temples, universities like Nalanda and Taxila, and other public works. Welfare activities also encompassed education, healthcare, and famine relief. Diplomacy played a central role in international relations, with alliances and treaties such as the Marian-Seleucus Pact being used to maintain stability. Kautilya's Arthashastra defines the 7 limbs of the state as follows: Swamin, the king, who is a virtuous, wise and just ruler; Amatya, the ministers, who form the administrative backbone and assist the king; Janapada, representing the territory and its people; Durga, the defensive strongholds; Kosha, which includes the economic resources; Danda, indicating the military strength; and finally Mitra, the diplomatic partners. The duties of the state, according to Manusmriti and Arthashastra, include the protection of people, ensuring safety and justice for all subjects; administration of justice, which means having a fair and impartial legal system; welfare activities such as education, sanitation, and care for the poor; economic development, supporting agriculture, trade, and industry; and the promotion of Dharma, upholding moral and ethical law as the guiding principle. Checks and balances. Ancient Indian polity emphasized accountability. The king was assisted and sometimes restrained by his council of ministers. If a ruler became unjust, he could be removed. This principle ensured governance remained aligned with the welfare of the people. Democratic elements. While monarchies were common, republics and tribal assemblies like the Sabha and Samiti existed, reflecting participatory governance. Buddhist sanghas operated with elected positions and consensus-based decisions, and local self-governance through panchayats was prevalent. Socio-cultural role. The state was a patron of religion, education, and culture. Temples, universities, and public works received royal support, fostering intellectual and cultural growth. Evolution of state structure, Vedic period, tribal governance with assemblies. Mauryan Empire, centralized administration, spy networks, Gupta Empire, decentralized feudalism, regional autonomy, post-Gupta regional kingdoms adapted statecraft to local needs. Comparison with modern India. Unlike ancient India's oscillation between centralization and decentralization, modern India is a federal democracy with a written constitution, elected representatives, and judicial review. However, the ancient emphasis on welfare, justice, and participatory governance remains relevant. Conclusion. The nature of the state in ancient Indian polity was a balanced combination of authority and duty, guided by Dharma. Its scope covered administration, justice, economy, defense, and welfare. Ancient Indian political thought, as embodied in the Arthashastra and Dharmashastras, provided a structured framework that influenced governance for centuries. The ancient Indian state was not merely a political entity, but a moral institution aimed at ensuring righteousness, prosperity, and stability in society.